I spent all weekend playing Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, collecting all 365 new voice memories that were added in the Switch 2 versions. It took forever. And yes, Japilla 1, it literally took forever, it's not just a saying. I'm still doing it right now, and I will still be doing it until the end of time. Of those 365 voice memories, there were about 50 that stood out to me that I want to talk about. Today, we're going to talk about the voice memories that add some very interesting lore explanations to the environmental design of Hyrule. First, we have the Scar's Story voice memory, where Zelda examines the massive chunk missing from the Hyrule Mountains and surmises that it must have come from an energy blast fired at the mountain from Hyrule Castle, which she then confirms in the subsequent voice memory for totk. My question is, how and why would Hyrule Castle hit the Hyrule Mountains with a Kamehameha? Next, we have the In a Puff of Smoke memory, where we may have finally gotten a more official explanation for the disappearance of the Guardians and totk in Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda states that after the Calamity was defeated, the ancient relics at the Hateno Tech Lab just turned to dust. We can assume that she's referring to the Guardians and totk because the explanation is in line with what the developers have stated in the past. The interesting part here is that Zelda implies that the Guardian on top of the Tech Lab is simply a replica. Then there's the Dragon's Path voice memory, where Zelda posits that this odd, damaged section of the Gerudo Highlands is due to a dragon flying through it. Raru's crafted snowscape memory is really interesting because it reveals that the snowy section of the Great Sky Island was artificially created with frost emitters. And his Stormwind Arc memory reveals that the massive ship was created by the Zonai and gifted to the Rito as thanks for the Rito frequently saving Zonai that fell out of the sky. The Stable Association voice memory explains why wells suddenly appeared across Hyrule in Tears of the Kingdom, or at least the ones at Stables. Basically just because the Stable Association thought it would be a good idea to create emergency shelters after the Calamity. The Materials Cache memory explains that while the Hylians lacked the labor to rebuild Hyrule's infrastructure after the Calamity, they had abundant resources, so they just left those lying around all over Hyrule. This gives us a lore reason for the caches, even though they were really just placed there because of the addition of Ultra Hand as a gameplay mechanic. Finally, there's the Village Lost to the Mud memory in Breath of the Wild that explains how the Torrent wetland next to Tarrytown couldn't be built on due to the dampness of the soil. But after the Calamity, the water had receded enough for Hudson to be able to build a workspace down there. I don't think we really needed an explanation for why Tarrytown expanded after Link helped build it in Breath of the Wild, but we got one anyway.